Kamal Haasan is at the center of a major controversy after he said Kannada was born out of Tamil during the launch event of his film Thuglife. Many in Karnataka saw the comment as disrespectful, leading to protests, political pressure, and a warning from the Karnataka Film Chamber of Commerce that the film would not be allowed to release in the state without an apology. In response, Hassan's production house, Raaj Kamal Films International, filed a writ petition in the Karnataka High Court. The petition stated that the remark was made to express cultural unity, not to offend, and raised concerns that the police might not provide protection for the film's release or ensure safety for viewers and theatre owners. Hassan has said that his words were taken out of context and meant to show affection for the late actor Dr. Raaj Kumar and his family. He has refused to apologize, saying he had no intention to insult Kannada or its people. With Thug Life released everywhere except Karnataka and the case now in the High Court, the issue has sparked a wider debate about language, identity, and freedom of speech. Joining us today is actor and activist Chetan Ahimsa, known for his outspoken views on social justice, and to share his thoughts on the controversy and what it means for the larger cultural conversation and language justice. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And because you are an artist as well as an activist, how do you view the whole Kannada controversy over Kamal Haasan?
Thanks for having me, Akshita. It's a pleasure to be here. And as I mentioned previously, I don't see this as a battle between languages, Kannada versus Tamil. I see this more as a fight between truth and fiction or lies. It's kind of a fight between truth and lies. And what I mean by truth, I mean intellectual ideas that linguistic scholars have peer reviewed and accepted over generations, maybe even a century. And the comment, first of all, Mr. Kamal Haasan is a fantastic actor, and we all have respect for that. We've all watched his movies growing up, and we all respect him as an artist. But at the same time, just because you're a good actor does not mean your ideas are all sound, your ideas are all credible, your ideas are all relevant to the present day and truthful. So when Mr. Kamal Haasan said that Kannada has been born from Tamil, this is clearly an untruth. This is not a fact. Both Tamil, Kannada, and even other languages such as Telugu, Malayalam, and Dravidian languages, these are all come from the same root, come from all the same Proto-Dravidian source. And these Dravidian languages are all sister languages, brother languages, sibling languages. To say that one is somehow the mother, one is somehow the source, is very problematic and is not the truth. Now, I mean, Mr. Kamal Haasan has been asked many times about like where he's coming up with this, even though he has refused to apologize or take back his words. And he is, and I researched a little bit about it because I saw that a lot of Tamil leaders were also leaders who we have also seen eye to eye on many issues, are also speaking the same kind of rhetoric about Tamil being the mother language and somehow Kannada being the daughter or son or child. And I realized that this comes from an 1856 kind of 19th century scholarship of a person named Robert Caldwell, who was a British so-called linguistic scholar who made the claim that Tamil is the mother language. This is 170 years ago. And in that same book, this Robert Caldwell also makes the statement that Aryans are a superior race to the Dravidians because of maybe brain size or cranium size, and how like Aryans meaning upper castes and Europeans and various things of that time. So, and that kind of racial superiority in that same book. So these ideas have basically been debunked. These ideas have been called out as false for over 100 years now by scholars, by linguistic thinkers, philologists, intellectuals, and many people with sound academic credentials. But to continue that propaganda and not being updated to the times and showing a certain kind of egoness and pettiness might I don't know, it might work on a film set. I don't know if it should even there, but it doesn't work when it comes to leading society, building a better society, being a representative of your state or the nation or as somebody who's a leader thinker. And these are so we were very disappointed in these ideas. I mean, we expect people to be more updated, more relevant, and also when what you have said has been proven to be wrong. I mean, just because they're outcry doesn't mean you have to apologize or recant your words. But if your ideas have been proven to be wrong, then the least you could do as a upstanding citizen, as somebody who people respect, is just self-question yourself and through humility, kind of correct your mistakes. But I feel there's a lot of ego and there's a lot of attitude that is being proclaimed by being shown and revealed by Mr. Kamal Haasan, and that is disappointing, considering his star status could have been a very respected leader for many people across the nation. But it shows that he puts his own kind of personal kind of ego and attitude above truth and above the people's justified outrage.
So it sounds like Mr. Hassan's ego is coming here and he's not being sensitive according to the people's importance of the people, and language becomes a very important part of the society, and it's a sensitive issue as of now in Karnataka. So, do you believe that artists and public figures, including politicians or influencers, they have a special responsibility when speaking about cultural history or linguistic history?
I am a big supporter of freedom of speech, and I believe that artists and people in positions of power and influence should do more talking, should express themselves more so that people understand what is in their minds instead of limiting them to just a film star, which is actually kind of almost like a hand puppet to the writing, to the direction, to the production values, and we just do our job. But the true understand the true humanity of a person or the true intellectual ideological depth of a person doesn't come out as an actor. But when you speak about relevant social issues, and you should do more speaking, I think that is how you can uphold a very strong democratic ethos. Especially people with more power and influence should talk more, but at the same time there must be a kind of responsibility in what you say. There must be a kind of truth to what you're saying, intellectual kind of basis to what you're saying. Just because you have the mic, just because the media carries you, just because you are known in films doesn't mean everything you say must is blindly accepted, and everything you say doesn't become automatically truth. Just to become a very talented artist, like many people, and Kamal Haasan included, it takes decades of working on your craft, honing your craft, being a theater artist, for example, performing, and a lot of ups and downs to come to that level of performance, like that height of performance, not success per se, but even ability and talent and performance value. Similarly, when you're talking about nation building, when you're talking about your ideas and your intellectual pursuits, you have to read, you have to study, you have to update yourself, you have to be you have to pursuit of knowledge, pursuit of truth. These are all very, you have to be involved in this process of intellectual inquiry and investigation. Just because you have the media at your behest because somebody wrote a script that you were the beneficiary as an actor does not mean that everything you say is true. So while you do have a responsibility and a right to proclaim your ideas and speak, you also have to be especially conscientious about what you say, how much truth you say. And if you make a mistake, there has not been anybody in the history of humanity that does not make a mistake. Once you make a mistake and you are aware of that, there must be the humility to accept that and like take back those words. And in fact, the people of Tamil Nadu, many people messaged me about this issue from Tamil Nadu, activists, concerned people, and a lot of youth that have an understanding about these kind of relevant issues. And they were saying, no, we feel what Mr. Kamal Haasan has said are false and unwarranted, and we know that that Kannada, Tamil, and these are sibling languages, and we don't want to bring uh, any kind of animosity or any kind of unrest between it. And we're disappointed with Mr. Kamal Hassan's words was coming from the people of Tamil Nadu. And so what we expect from really noble, really dynamic statesmen, leaders, is that they build bridges between communities and join them together. What I feel Mr. Kamal Haasan and many of these Tamil leaders and these regional Tamil leaders, with their unupdated, thoughtless kind of statements are doing, are actually destroying the very bridges that have brought the people of Karnataka and the people of Tamil Nadu together all these years as Dravidians, as siblings, as people who want to uphold the linguistic ethos of our nation and our land.
And what do you make of the Karnataka High Court's question to Mr. Hassan at this point, when this court said that, are you a historian or a linguistic? Do you think, does this set a precedent of how public discourse is being regulated?
I mean, I know that the Karnataka High Court brought in a very interesting perspective about Mr. Raaj Kamal who in 1950 was a scholar on many issues and did make the statement that Kannada comes from Tamil, or Tamil is a mother language. And then after intellectuals were, and after many academics brought it out, and many leaders per se brought it out that this is an untruth, he did apologize for his words. So that was brought up in the court, and I had a chance to look at what the High Court Justice brought out, and many things. For example, I personally, these questions can definitely be asked. Are you a historian? Are you a linguist? I don't personally believe a historian or a linguist are the only ones who could talk about history or could talk about linguistics. I believe these are issues that are in the public domain, that anybody and everybody who has an opinion and has a kind of conscience towards a better society should talk and can talk. So it's not as if you have to have done only a PhD and be a professor to talk about these issues. But at the same time, it's those who are peer reviewed and academically respected and valued, whose ideas we must accept as true, because these are very well studied, well investigated ideas. We cannot just say, just because I have a voice and I am a celebrity, my words are equal to somebody who has studied these issues. So, I mean, if some politician says makes a comment about performance and acting and this and that, and Kamal Haasan, that he has a right, but Kamal Haasan clearly has a kind of a much deeper insight about that, about the filmmaking process, about this and that. So certain people's words, and which are academically and intellectually accepted and peer reviewed, must be held in higher estimation on that particular subject than others. That does not mean others cannot speak. So while we are all equal, does not mean all our ideas are equal. So there is a difference between the intellectual, ideological depth on certain issues, and people are aware of that. People are very aware that, like, who is this? I mean, if you take about medical issues, somebody who has studied medicine has a much deeper insight. That does not mean we can't express our opinions on these issues, and we might not bring in a different perspective. But we must see that just because you have a right to speak doesn't mean all our ideas are equal. So that being said, I don't believe that Kamal Haasan doesn't have a right to talk. I believe he is, whether he's a historian or he's a linguist or lack thereof, he has a right to express his opinion. But I do believe his ideas are flawed and wrong and actually unwarranted. And I do believe that he should really look into what historians and linguists have really been articulating for a century and take that as truth, instead of saying, I have some film fans, so what I say, and I have a lot of money, so whatever I say holds. It doesn't work that way.
There has to be responsibility when you say something, especially if you're a public figure, even though you can participate in the discussion. Also, why do you think we are still caught up in hierarchies of which Indian language came first? Is this a colonial hangover of authenticity?
I see, language is what is an extraordinary concept for India. There's an emotional connection to the language. There's the diversity and the linguistic states are the basis of the Indian democracy. And this is what makes India, I would say, the greatest country in the world on some levels, because of our linguistic diversity and the fact that we have been unified within that. But at the same time, it does come with its own kind of its own problems that I wouldn't say baggage. I would say it comes with its own kind of difficulties in navigating and negotiating it when some people make statements that are problematic. And it also, I'm not saying everybody in Karnataka has really reacted to it as maturely as we could on some levels. I mean, I don't believe theaters should be, there should be a threat to burn the theaters. I don't believe in this kind of hooliganism, physical attacks on people just because they didn't speak the language. But at the same time, I can understand the kind of linguistic kind of pride and the pride in the cultural history and the heritage. And what I look to this, all of this, is in Karnataka, we have had for 70 to 75 years Delhi Hindian parties that have essentially uh, called the shots, put in the policies, and been the kind of lawmakers for us from a Hindian Delhi perspective without our own Karnataka regional kind of political movements. And that has placed our languages, I'm not talking about just Kannada. I believe there's a power structure. I believe there's a power structure in language. I believe there's power structure in everything. And power structure in language also exists. You're talking about Hindi, English, and Sanskrit. You're talking about Hindi who are ruling this power structure. Hindi being a kind of nationalistic kind of sense of larger majoritarian dominance. You're talking about English being an economic dominance and Sanskrit being a kind of cultural dominance. And in the middle, you're talking about Kannada being the mostly spoken, a majoritarily spoken language in Kannada and the basis of the linguistic state of Karnataka. And then on the bottom rungs, extraordinary languages of Karnataka. You talk about Tulu, Kodava, Bari, Lambani, Adivasi language, Alemari language, Dakkani Urdu. So how you fight this power structure is essentially by bringing the bottom, whatever is on the bottom, up. And you actually have to bring the top a little bit down to bring in linguistic equality. So I am a big supporter of linguistic rights and linguistic justice, and but that is not something that I look at that my mother tongue is Kannada, so that's the only language that should dominate. I believe all the languages of our region of Karnataka who don't have their own separate state for their own official language, and they're born out from Karnataka, they've raised in Karnataka, they're nurtured by our Karnataka people. These languages are all a part of Karnataka, and they are a legacy that we must uphold. So, in that being said, the power structure is such that you need resistance, and we're not against any language speakers because there's no nobody's born into their mother tongue with an application. You're born into it by chance. But we must uphold the linguistic legacies and heritage and traditions of Karnataka and all of our nation in totality. In fact, if you look at other nations, a lot of time one of the reasons why Pakistan was divided in many reasons was because of a kind of imposition of Urdu at the expense of Bangla. And you look at civil wars that existed in Sri Lanka because of linguistic issues. You're talking about Tamil and Sinhala and various things. So that being said, which is also language oriented. So Karnataka, our Karnataka languages, Kannada and all other minority languages are a sense of pride, and that we as a government must bring in policies, must bring in laws that benefit our languages and our educational system and overall upliftment of the land instead of in any way targeting those of any other language or in any way individual kind of hooliganism that cannot be condoned, that is completely against the Constitution and the law altogether. But languages are a very important aspect of what makes us Indian and what makes us emotionally connected. And regardless of ideological kind of differences, one thing about the people of Karnataka, Kannada and our Karnataka languages mean a lot to us. So one thing that we will unite on is a certain kind of linguistic kind of solidarity, and that being the case, regardless of our ideological proclivities. So that being the case, we need a kind of Kannada, Karnataka, and Karnataka languages kind of basis, kind of political movement that can assure justice linguistically too, like the way Dravidian movement in Tamil Nadu has successfully been for 55, 60 years. You're talking about Andhra Pradesh and Telangana have their own regional parties. You're talking about Kerala has its own kind of one, even though it's not necessarily a regional party, it is a kind of party that is only in that one state today. So all that being said, Karnataka needs a Kannada-ness, a Karnataka-ness, and a Karnataka language-ness that we must uphold.
So advocating for the regional language is very important at this point of time.
Absolutely. Regional language, it makes us is a very important aspect of what makes us Indian, what makes us Karnataka, a person, a Kannadiga, and what makes us upholding the constitutional ethos is, and many people, you're talking about Potti Sri Ramalu, you're talking about many people in Karnataka too, who have fought for linguistic rights, given their life for linguistic rights. If I'm not mistaken, the person who was a wrestler. And he was comes from the Muslim community. He was the one who in Karnataka gave his life for regional linguistic ethos of the Karnataka land for on the basis of linguistic rights. So all these things, people have sacrificed a lot, and we that regional there's an emotional connection. A lot of things are also emotional and cultural. We cannot deny the culturalities and the emotionalities, but that does not mean that these cultural, emotional legacies should translate into any kind of hooliganism and violence. But at the same time, we need a political movement that understands what our languages in Karnataka mean to us, and that must be upheld through policies, through laws, and through various kinds of measures that can uphold that truly Karnataka-ness and Indian-ness and Kannada-ness.
Also, now coming to the movie specifically, do you think that the demand for banning thug life until Kamal Haasan apologizes is a justified form of protest or it's overreaching?
See, I specifically kind of divorce and separate a film actor's like statements, ignorance, arrogance from the business that is films. Personally, I do that. See, now it is natural that it is conflated. Why it is conflated? Because a film lead, male lead, is the main marketing and main kind of you're talking about commercial branding for any film. On top of that, you're talking about the female lead, you're talking about the director, the production banner, and various artists in the film, and various things become also and become commercial branding for the film. But the film male lead is a primary aspect of the that leads to a commercial success. And films, while it might be kind of seen as in various ways according to various perspectives, I see films as essentially a commercial medium that sees art through commercial lens. So a successful film is built on how much money it made according to how much it put in. So the recovery, if it's more of a success, no matter how good or so-called bad the content may be. So it's natural that the film's lead statement is conflated with the film, and then the film's business is not allowed. I personally believe this should be separated. I believe even though a film's lead might make outlandish statements, ignorant statements, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of people who are involved in the film process, their careers, their effort, and a producer who is investing in that film is looking to make profits or at least a successful film and recover the film's costs. So one person's statements must not necessarily derail that process for hundreds, maybe even thousands of people, and hundreds, maybe in so much crores. But in this particular situation, there's a bit of a difference because Mr. Kamal Haasan is not just the film lead, he is also the producer of this film. So that being the case, he is not speaking from the vantage of a film lead only. He is speaking from the vantage of a producer as well. And that being the case, he can I mean, I believe if Kannada is the truth about Kannada and Karnataka does not necessarily matter to him, then there's no reason that the business and the profits that he should be trying to make from the Karnataka people should really matter to him either. I mean, that being the case. But in general, if the producer is somebody different and the male lead or the female lead or whoever is somebody different, then I believe we must separate what is these ignorant or arrogant or problematic statements, flawed statements from the business of a film. And I don't believe that we should attack that soft target that is the business. I think it should be fought on intellectual, on ideological grounds instead of on commercial business. But in this particular case, I understand how it can be joined together since Mr. Kamal Haasan is both the lead and the producer of the situation.
Also, coming as an actor, what do you think would be the cost of this like Kamal Haasan's statement, his not being able to release the film in Karnataka? What would be the cost to Kamal Haasan and his movie Thug Life? Because Tamil movies are not the most earning movies from Karnataka. They don't get the most revenue some of the films have, but Tamil Nadu is, of course, the main home ground for these movies. So, what do you think would be the cost of the actions?
Mr. Kamal Haasan is a very big superstar. I mean, he's a super duper star across the nation. He's done films of many languages, successful films, films that are memorable films, and these are films he has done. He's gotten an opportunity to do these films with fantastic directors, very good roles, very good scripts, and he's also done justice to all of that. And I, to be honest with you, Akshita, he is, I mean, to understand somebody maybe psychologically, he is also 70 years old. He is also somebody who has reached maybe a pinnacle of his career in films. So it might not even matter to him. He might not even care about like necessarily making it even more money or even getting even more success. It's almost as if it's like it doesn't really it doesn't really bother him in any way. It's like he might even say, I don't care. I mean, I've heard him make statements that say, I'm not, even if Karnataka bans me, I won't take back my words or something like that.
Yeah.
See, first of all, I don't think any industry can ban anybody. That's a different statement altogether. I mean, if somebody wants to put money on somebody, that's his or her choice and that's his or her freedom, which is constitutionally mandated. You can't say it's a ban. But it just shows that I don't think he really cares about what people of Karnataka really think, and people not just of Karnataka, people who believe in linguistic scholarship and linguistic truth and the truth of the matter. So that being the case, he seems to neglect it. But what I find kind of sad and maybe even like ironic is that it has taken him 50 years to reach maybe he started at 4 years old, and it might have taken 65 years to reach this high level of commercial success and a lot of respect in the nation on many levels. But in a matter of a couple days, his true ego attitude and his kind of pettiness, he has kind of sunk in the eyes of a lot of people who believe in truth and who believe in good leadership and who believe that Karnataka people, Tamil Nadu people, and all people of India should join together and through bridges. And so in that way, he has lost credibility. He has lost credibility. He has lost a lot of respect. And actually, the people of Tamil Nadu, he started a political movement in his own way and a political party. And if I remember correctly, in 2019 Lok Sabha, he got about over 3.5, almost 4% of the vote share, which is a very big vote share. But over the next couple of years, over 2 years, when the Tamil Nadu election came out, it dropped down to 2%. And I think he lost his own seat. And I think the people of Tamil Nadu also realized that this man might be a fantastic actor, but he is not suitable for to hold position to lead the people successfully. So they themselves have essentially rejected him. And now Karnataka people are not thrilled and are disappointed in him as well. I would say it is his own fault. It is his own fault. And he has consistently said, I didn't say this out of any kind. I've said this out of love. I mean, I'm not saying that he said it out of ill intentions, but what you said was factually inaccurate. So even if you say something lovingly that is a lie, intellectually or scholarship wise, the least you can do is lovingly take back those words and correct those words. I mean, there must be that kind of quality, and that wasn't there. And either way, we are kind of disappointed in that. But I think the Tamil Nadu people have also known what type of person he is all these years. We haven't in Karnataka necessarily been following him that much. I haven't personally by everything he said. I've seen his political movement. I saw a couple of his interviews, and I'm just not convinced that he offers an alternative for the people of Tamil Nadu, or he would be necessarily that good of a particularly leader considering these kind of actions and a thinker. But nevertheless, we respect him as an actor, and I'm a big fan of Tamil language on many levels. And the Dravidian movement, the Tande Periyar, who's a mother tongue Kannadiga built in Tamil Nadu, and and even the anti-Hindi agitations that Tamil Nadu led, and these are all people have given their lives. I would say even 500 people or something have youth. Many have given their lives for the language in Tamil Nadu. So these are things that have inspired us, and to fight for what is linguistic kind of diversity and linguistic rights and justice that is the basis of the Indian nationhood. And that being the case, I'm disappointed that these kind of solidarity is now put into flux because of the thoughtless actions, arrogant actions, petty actions of someone that should hold himself with a higher level of dignity and respect and humility.
Also, before we end, as a representative voice, what would be your message to both Kannada speaking and Tamil speaking people who love cinema?
Yeah, I think Tamil makes a lot of wonderful cinema. There's a lot of anti-caste cinema that is coming out. Tamil has made a lot of there's extraordinary directors, writers, and we are all and even in Karnataka, you're talking about. See, if you look at Bengaluru, Bengaluru is kind of at the crossroads of a lot of linguistic uh, areas and regions. So in Bengaluru, we watch all languages. We watch Tamil movies, and Tamil movies also succeed. We watch Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, English, Hindi. There's a lot of different languages that are watched in Bengaluru, and uh, we want to see good cinema. But at the same time, the good cinema is one aspect. We want to see good content, good direction, and quality level of cinema. And I think Kannada is making a valiant attempt for that. Tamil is consistently doing that, and we respect that. But at the same time, we have to differentiate between film as a business and nation building. Nation building is something that we uphold the constitutional ethos, we uphold the essence that is what it means to be an Indian, what it means to be someone from Karnataka, someone from Tamil Nadu. I would say I define that as being an equalitarian. So being somebody who believes in human equality in terms of caste, gender, even economic, and in terms of even linguistic, vocational. So linguistic equality is something that we all need, we all support. So Tamil Nadu people have a rich history of that. We're big fans. I mean, even I don't know which is necessarily older in terms of spoken. That is debate is going on. I don't know if you could necessarily definitively say one is spoken before, but when you say literary traditions, I have intellectually I've studied that Tamil has maybe a little bit older literary traditional history, and we're proud of that. We're all very happy with that. Karnataka has 2,500 of history, and that's a millennium of written history, and we're also proud of all that. I don't know if just because the language is older, it doesn't make it superior or inferior, like sisters, like brothers. So that being the case, we respect the people of all linguistic Dravidian traditions, and of course, all people of India. But at the same time, we fight the power structure, and there is a linguistic power structure, and that linguistic power structure must be questioned in Karnataka to uphold what is truly linguistic justice, which we say is one of the main aspects of being Indian and building a truly vibrant Indian nation. So that being the case, Kannada and Tamil Nadu and Karnataka and Tamilians, we need all to be together and build these bridges instead of any kind of pettiness that individual leaders, for their own kind of personal glory, might put out there. We should rise above that and transcend that.
So your message would be to fight for linguistic justice instead of involving into petty issues. If I can put it that way.
Linguistic justice is a much larger issue, the essence of linguistic states, and in fact, a federalist basis for our nation will do a lot more good, will do a lot of good instead of some kind of centralized hegemony of majoritarianism or any kind of linguistic majoritarianism, because the basis of the Indian constitution and linguistic states is not a fight. It's not a tyranny of the majority. It is a linguistic tyranny of the majority. It's the upholding of linguistic justice, linguistic diversity, and linguistic rights. And that being the case, it's a very important aspect. We cannot deny that aspect. And fortunately or unfortunately, it ends up being it becomes an emotional issue. But we must look at it from a very thoughtful, as much as possible, non-emotional kind of intellectual and empirical basis, truthful basis. And like I said from the get-go, this is not a fight between Kannada and Tamil. This is a fight between truth and lies and fiction and fabrications that are coming around. But truth, we should fight for truth and uphold the true intellectual discourse. Now, ideology issue, like you could find materials, you could find facts at your fingertips. You don't have to necessarily go looking through thousands of books like in the old days, but it's also about finding that facts and interpreting it in a truly just way. And justice is the basis of our Constitution's preamble. What is justice? Correcting the wrongs of the past. So you correct the wrongs through linguistic equality as one of the main elements. So all this being said, it is good that people are getting involved and discussing, and the dialogue is happening, because the only way you could build a robust democracy is through dialogue. There's no question of silencing voices, but just because you have the right to speak doesn't mean everything you say is true, and there's not a hierarchy of truth necessarily in what people are saying, but there is definitely human hierarchy we cannot accept. We all humans are equal, and everybody should express their ideas, and social media has given us that kind of platform. So I hope people use it responsibly in the future.
Thank you so much, sir. It was great having you.
Thanks for having me, Akshay.